Hi, this is Rich Formidoni from Casio, and I'm here today with the Privia PX560. The 560 is an incredibly powerful instrument, a stage piano, synthesizer, it's lots of different things. It has a huge variety of built-in sounds, including what are called hex layers. A hex layer is up to 6 different sounds together in one tone, and each layer has its own filter, amp, and pitch settings as well as effects. It's incredibly powerful, and you can play up to 4 different hex layers at once. So today I want to take you behind the scenes and show you what a hex layer is comprised of and how easy it is to create your own. One of the biggest advantages that the PX560 has over other Privia models is right here, that little button that says Edit. I've selected a saw lead sound from the synth category. It's not a hex layer sound. This is a basic tone. So I'm going to touch Edit and show you all the places you can go. Here's the second edit button, touch that. So here you can see you've got options for pitch, filter, amp, effect, and so on. I'm going to touch the amp enter button, and now I see that I can adjust the volume, the velocity sensitivity, and envelope. I'm going to touch enter for the envelope. Now I see that I can modify things like the initial level, attack time, attack level, decay, and release time. I'm going to drop the initial level down. Then I'm going to raise the attack time and give the attack level a little bit of a peak. So you can hear how that modifies how the sound moves through time. If I add a little bit of release, then when I take my hands off the keys, the sound takes a little bit longer to decay. So you can modify similar envelopes for things like filter and pitch. Now let's take it to the next step. I'm going to select a new sound, and I'm going to go to the hex layer category. Let's just choose the first one here, Privia Synth. Now I'll press Tone, and again I've got my Edit button. I'll touch that, touch Edit again, and now I've got an option called Layer. I can still do overall pitch, effect, LFO, etc. adjustments, but this layer button is where we're going to go. Touch enter, and now look at the top here. For each of the different layers in a hex layer, there are 6 of them, I can choose one and have these individual controls for each one. You can see how the sound changes a little bit. When I select a different layer, I can see different waveforms are specified. So when I play it all together, those are all the different sounds played at once. I'm going to go to the layer on-off here and turn the other layers off. So now we're just hearing the very first layer, which is VA Synth 1. All right, now we'll add in the second layer, VA Synth 1 again. So now the sound is much thicker and fuller. Let's scroll down a little bit, and you can see all the other things that you can do. So I can go to pitch, filter, and amp. I'm just going to go into amp real quick. And take a look at this. The pan for layer number 2 is set at 63. The pan for layer number 1 is set at minus 64. This means that the first waveform is panned far left and the second one is far right. So if I turn off layer number 1, scroll back up to the top here, we should just be hearing the right channel. So that's a very creative way to add some depth to the sound. Have 2 waveforms, they can be the same waveform, and pan them in stereo, and you can slightly detune them for an even thicker effect. I'm going to go back to Tone, and we'll select a different sound from within the category. You can see that there are lots of different types of sounds in here. For example, there are some electric pianos, including this one, Herbie's Rhodes. So I'll jump back to Tone, touch Edit, and then touch Layer, Enter. And we can see what we're dealing with. So here are the different waveforms that are being used. Air E piano 11, Air E piano 12, 13, 14, Dyno piano 21, and a sine wave. So all of these sounds are used for different aspects of a Rhodes patch. So let's do a little investigating as to why we're using all those different sounds to make an electric piano sound. As we can see here, we've got our key range low to high, but at the bottom there's also velocity range low, and if we scroll down, velocity range high. Now all these values have a range of 0 to 127, but the high range here for this very first layer stops at 54. That means as I hit a key harder and harder, once I get to 54, I'm triggering a different layer. Let's jump to layer number 2. See how this sound's range high parameter is 84? If I scroll back up, the low is 55. So right after the first layer is removed at a velocity of 54, this one kicks in. And then you're hearing another layer at a velocity range of 85 to 104. And finally, there's another one all the way up to 127. So they're all very similar, but to truly recreate the character of an electric piano, we have to use these different recordings at different velocities. Okay, let's look at another example. I'm going to press tone, and now I'm going to touch where it says Herbie's Roads, and I'm going to select a hex layer called Symphony Orchestra. Press tone again, edit twice, and now let's jump into layer. In this instance, we've got layer 1 is a French horn, layer 2 is a brass section, layer 3 is a piccolo flute, 4 is a bassoon, 5 and 6 are both violin sections. So as we look at these, the velocity ranges are all the same, 0 to 127, but what changes are the key ranges. So for some of these instruments, you'll have a full range of sound. For example, this French horn, you can hear that in the entire range of keys. But as we move up, some of them have different ranges. For example, this piccolo flute sounds up top, but not on bottom. That's because it only has a range of C4 to C6, 2 octaves total. So the wider ranges, like C-1 to C9, cover the entire span. But for some specific instruments, there's a smaller range. Now, I'm going to do something a little different here. I'm going to take layer 6 here and change it from a violin section to something else. So I just touched where it says violin section, and now I'm going to scroll down until I find a timpani. I saved a little time and jumped ahead here. This is page 55 where the timpani is. Touch right there and then touch back. So the first thing to do is listen to it. And I can hear that the timpani is there, but I'm not getting the brightness that's associated with that instrument, only the low-end boom. So I'm going to scroll down, still in layer 6, and touch enter next to where it says filter. Aha, so here I can see that the cutoff is set at 56. That's probably because when programming the symphony orchestra, the violin was supposed to be a little less bright. So I'm going to take the value dial and turn it up while playing a key. So now we can start to hear the entire range of the instrument. I'm going to turn it down a little bit. Keep it a little bit dark. Now, if I play keys in the upper register, I can still hear the timpani there, but it sounds unnatural because timpanis don't go that high. So what I want to do is go back by hitting exit and then change my key range. So the key range low is fine. That can be on the very bottom of the keyboard. But the high range, I want to select C3, and I'm going to do that by pressing the actual key. So once it's highlighted, then I can choose the key just by pressing it. So now if I hit the D above that, so now if I hit back again, and I press the D above the C I just selected, I have no timpani. But I can play that timpani at all velocity ranges. I don't quite want that. So I'm going back into layer, and here we're going to set a velocity range limit. So I want the timpani to only come in when I hit a key very hard. So what I'm going to do is take the velocity range low and bring it up to about 100. So now I can do this. If I really dig into a key on the low end, I'll hear the timpani, but if I play softly, I still get my strings and woodwinds in a very dramatic way. So it just adds a little bit of extra expression to an already great sound in the PX560. Now, if you create your own hex layers, don't forget to save it. So I'm going to hit back a couple of times here, and then I've got the write button. So make sure you touch that, choose a user location, touch rename, you can give it a name, and then hit execute. Once you've saved a hex layer, it'll be there for you to select in the hex layer category. You can then use it as one of the 4 tones, upper 1, upper 2, lower 1, and lower 2. And then you can save it as a registration so you can select it immediately with a button. Don't forget, after you spend some time customizing and creating sounds, save your work and back it up on a USB drive, which you can plug right into the front panel. For more information on the PX560 or other Casio gear, please visit us at CasioMusicGear.com. I'm Rich Formidoni. Thank you very much for watching.